So
you mentioned the Spawn movie. I'm itching to ask you if you have anything new to share. Is Jamie Foxx still attached to the project?
Oh yeah.
That'll be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Jamie may be more enthused about it than me. So every time I talk to him, he's always like, "Come on, Todd, let's go. Come on, when are we going? Let's go. Let's do this. Let's go." So no, Jamie's in 100%. Obviously, we've got a weird world we're living in, and Hollywood's trying to figure it out. On our personal front with the movie, we keep adding pieces to it, and we have been adding pieces since February. We've been moving it along. We just haven't been public about it. Okay. I wish I could, because some of the pieces, some of the people we've added are big names, and especially in our world, in our geek world, they would be big announcements. But I'm not privy to saying it right now. Sure. But I promise you that we haven't been dormant during the pandemic. We've been moving.
What would be the greatest change, maybe in tone, from what we saw with the first Spawn movie and what we are about to see?
I mean, again, just in the sense that I want it to be R-rated. Okay. And R-rated isn't because I want to make it violent, or I want to show naked people, or I want to curse. It's none of that. There may be some of that, but that's not the reason. The reason is because I think that the majority of the audience are going to be people like you, that are your age, that have been around this character for so long, and you're no longer a child. And it's time you've grown up. I think the character Spawn needs to grow up with the audience. So I think the vast majority of people who like Spawn are over the age of 15, and they can go to an R-rated movie. So, and those were the movies I liked when I was growing up. I liked them way more than the action movies.
Yeah, me too. I used to watch movies I wasn't supposed to. So I guess I watched The Thing. Maybe
that's a great movie.
It is. Maybe the wrong age to watch, but
so that movie is it's a good movie, because I actually use that. There's all the cool visuals and the monster in that movie, right? The Thing. Yeah. But really, you could say that movie's about paranoia. Everybody was looking at each other, thinking that was the creature, right? And nobody trusted each other. And we basically broke down our humanity in that movie because there was, one monster. So to me, those are way more interesting. And usually, then you have to go into R-rated because you're being serious about the material, and you're not just trying to go for a lot of visuals.
Spawn had an amazing animation series back in the 90s. Is that something that could be brought back in a new format?
Yeah, we're currently having conversations about that right now.
Okay.
If I go back into TV, do I go live action or do I go animation? The plus side of animation, I think, is that the technology has improved itself in the last 20 years since it was on, and there's just even more we could do way better, way more interesting stuff in animation today than we could have done back then. So I'd be curious to what that would look like, but there's also people saying, Todd, Spawn on TV live action would be cool too. So I'm sort of having both those conversations. Yeah.
Sure. Changing masks real quick. Going to Spider-Man. I mean, one of you were the guy who, at least in my memory, that moved his stance, right? You decided to draw him as the Spider-Man, and that's what really hooked me.
Spider-Man.
That was what really hooked me into the character. When you watch these current movies, where he is more and more, at least in my impression, more and more in tune with that representation, right? Is that like weird, or how do you feel by seeing that, seeing what you did, you know, crystallized like that?
Here's what's weird about it, in all honesty, is that while I was at Marvel, and it was one of the reasons why I ended up quitting, that even though the Spider-Man book I was doing was very successful and people liked it and they liked my art and some of the things you were just saying, I was getting a lot of pushback from management that I was sort of bending the look of their icon. And you know, they didn't quite. I was just having fun. I was just a young kid. I wasn't even thinking about it in those terms. So they were constantly saying, you can't stop, don't. All the things. Let me just tell your audience, the greatest enemy all of you will ever face in your life, and you will face it more than once, is status quo.
Status quo, okay.
And that is the people who are holding tight to yesterday's way of doing something. And if you're going to ever do anything that's different, you're going to be a bit of an outcast for a while, because people don't like change, even though it's one of the few consistent things that has been true about humanity. Change has been here every day a human has been on the planet, and yet we fight against it all the time, especially in business. So in this case, they had a look of Spider-Man. Todd was bending it.
Okay.
And they didn't quite like it. That I was sitting, you know, going, I don't like the way they took it as Todd doesn't like the way we do it. And then fast forward.
Okay.
That all those things they said don't are all the things that they ended up keeping. And not only do they keep them, but they integrate some of it into their movies now, right? Which is odd to me, that if I had listened to them when I was a young kid and they were saying, don't do it, Todd, which I think most employees would, they would listen to their boss. Then some of the things that people like, some of the visuals that are out there may never have existed, right? And some of it just existed because I was just immature and stubborn, and I said, no, I'm going to keep doing it. But that's not a natural thing for an employee to do. And so what's frustrating to me is that we should be nurturing artists to come up with as much new, as much innovative, as much original stuff as possible, instead of saying you got to do it the way we did it yesterday. But that's me. Look, it's one of the reasons why, among many, why I ended up helping to start Image Comics, and I've been there every day since.